Good evening, and I'd like to welcome you and call to order our Lucan Biddulph Council meeting for Tuesday, May the 19th. I would like to acknowledge that I am an ally of Indigenous peoples. The township of Lucan Biddulph is located on the treaty and traditional territory and ancestral lands of many Indigenous peoples and is covered by several Upper Canada treaties. We honor and respect the history, languages, and culture of the diverse Indigenous peoples who call Lucan Biddulph home. We endeavor to unlearn colonial mindsets and practices and to grow in knowledge. As we build meaningful relationships, we recognize contributions of Indigenous peoples and respect their leadership and partnership in shaping and strengthening our community. We acknowledge historic and ongoing injustices that Indigenous peoples endure in Canada, and we affirm our commitment to honoring Indigenous voices, nations, and cultures, and to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Okay, seeing none. So today was a good day in Lucan Biddulph because we welcomed our MPP, Steve Pinsonneau, here, acknowledging the success in receiving grant funding for two important projects. So we started off by visiting the library. I think this might be a trend for the evening. So we'll just be mindful of the emergency notices that come through tonight. So we started off and we visited the library because there's been a new accessible door that's been installed, and it was installed with funding received from the EASE program, which is Enhancing Accessible Spaces for Everyone. And we received $6,863 for the accessible door that can be found between the foyer and the programming room. And librarian Lee shared with us that the door has been a welcome change, and she has received much appreciation from our community on this addition. And then we were right here in the chambers, and this is actually quite apropos, acknowledging the receipt of $14,109. And this came from the Community Emergency Preparedness Grant. This grant enabled us to purchase radios that will help us with communication during an emergency. So we certainly thank the province for the opportunity to explore initiatives that work for our community. And just jumping off the emergency preparedness, last week I had the opportunity and I was invited to the practice of the Lucan Biddulph Fire Department for the Lucan Station. And the South Huron Fire Department was there with their ladder truck. And as you are aware, we have an agreement with South Huron that if needed, the ladder truck will be deployed to Lucan Biddulph in an emergent case. The practice took place next door at the Fuse apartment building. The truck, it certainly caused quite a stir in the parking lot with many residents coming out and taking a look to see what was happening. And it allowed our firefighters to get on the ladder and get a better understanding of what it would be like to work with that kind of apparatus. The firefighters also used that practice time to familiarize themselves with the Fuse building, understanding the layout of the building and how it works, where the hose boxes were, seeing a unit and understanding its layout, and just knowing where all of the appropriate infrastructure would be in the event that they're called there for an emergency. As Lucan Biddulph grows, we have different buildings and environments that our fire departments have to work in and have to protect. And so we want to thank South Huron for coming here for that practice. These practices and collaborations are imperative to keeping our community safe. So we thank them for being part of that. So we don't have a closed section tonight, but we do have a public meeting. And we have in front of us a minor variance application for a property on Roman Line. And at this time, Alyssa, I will turn it over to you to take us through that application.
Thank you. The purpose and effect of the minor variance application before committee is to permit the construction of a grain weight scale with a minimum township road setback of 24.38 meters, whereas the zoning bylaw requires a minimum township road setback of 28 meters. The subject property is approximately a 42-hectare lot situated on the west side of Roman Line, north of Breen Drive in Lucan. The lands are municipally known as 34849 Roman Line, containing a poultry farm and grain elevator and bins for storage and drying. The property is designated agricultural under the official plan and is zoned as general agricultural in the zoning bylaw. This zone permits agricultural uses such as what exists on the property in the proposed grain weight scale. The lands are surrounded by lands used for agricultural crop production. No comments were provided by the public prior to the development of this report. A comment was provided by the Ausable Bayfield Conservation Authority, stating that they have no objections to the application. I have reviewed the application against the 4 tests of the Planning Act, and as indicated in the report, I'm satisfied that the requested reduction to the township road setback for the purposes of constructing a grain weight scale meets the 4 tests of the Planning Act. Therefore, I'm recommending approval of minor variance application A2 2026 with conditions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Alyssa. Are there any questions from council or comments on the application in front of us? Just so you know, the applicant is here. Should we have any questions or need clarifications? Anything? Okay, so we do have a recommended motion in front of us. And as Alyssa said, it is to grant the application. I'm not going to read it. It is fairly lengthy. If anybody watching wants to see it, they can find the full motion on our agenda. If I can get a mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Westman and Councillor Regan. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, so that is it for our public meeting. We do have 2 delegations tonight. And at this time, I'd ask Mr. Glavin, Matt Glavin, to come up and join us. He's got a presentation he wants to make, but just before I start, I just wanted to note for clarity that there is currently no application before council regarding the property that we're going to be talking about tonight. So council won't be making any decisions tonight regarding any future plans or future permits or approvals. We're simply here to hear the delegation this evening, and any specific planning or legal concerns can also be provided in writing to staff for review through our township's normal process. So Matt, thank you for joining us, and I will turn it over to you. I think you know how to use the
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Matt Glavin. I operate a business directly adjacent to the agricultural parcel of land at 33407 Saintsbury Line. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My goal this evening is simple, is to clarify the township zoning bylaws allowed on A1 zone land and to highlight why the uses being proposed for this property are not compatible with the surrounding industrial area or with the township's long-term economic planning and goals. The A1 zone, which is general agricultural, has a very clear and specific list of permitted uses. Under section 5.1.1, the zoning bylaw identifies agricultural use, animal kennels, bed and breakfast establishments, forestry, home occupations, portable asphalt plants, wayside pits or quarries, and a single-use dwelling or converted dwelling with a maximum of 2 units. These are the only uses permitted. The bylaw does not permit rental housing, public access uses, or commercial leasing of land or greenhouses. Under the Planning Act, if the use is not listed, it's not permitted. This is important because the landowner publicly advertised on a website 3 uses for the property: seasonal outdoor plots for rent, seasonal hoop-style greenhouses for rent, and a 3-bedroom rental house planned for as soon as the fall of 2026. None of these uses fall within the permitted uses of A1. But beyond the zoning, I want to speak to something that affects all of us: the jobs, the economic stability, and the long-term health of the industrial park. Industrial areas are not just clusters of buildings, they are major employers. They support tradespeople, technicians, fabricators, and dozens of other skilled workers. They support families, they support local business. Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, as mentioned, all the businesses on Heaton Court are all industrial, all small businesses. These jobs are put at risk not because industry is doing anything wrong, when incompatible residential or public uses are introduced beside industrial operations, those jobs are put at risk, not because industry is doing anything wrong, but because conflict becomes unavoidable. I want to share a recent example that illustrates this clearly. Just over a week ago, one of our customers, also from a small town, not this one, had us perform some sandblasting in a coverall in their yard, something we've done many times in the past before. It is perfectly legal activity in an industrial area. They would then move the item that we sandblasted into their paint booth to finish the job. A residential neighbor complained to the authorities, claiming the sandblasting was contaminating the ground. Even though the customer did nothing wrong, and even though the activity was legal, the complaint alone was enough to shut them down. They can no longer use the area for sandblasting because they don't want to deal with the ongoing complaints. Now they have to outsource all their blasting work, costing them tens of thousands of dollars and potentially causing them to lose future contracts due to the increased cost in transportation and outsourcing costs. That means fewer hours for their employees, fewer opportunities for their apprentices, and less economic activity in their community. This is exactly what happens when residential uses are placed beside industrial operations. It's not about blame, it's simply about incompatible land uses being placed too close together. And when that happens, jobs are the first things to suffer. That's why the township's planning documents identify the area south of the heat and drain as an industrial growth corridor, a strategic employment area intended to support economic development. Protecting the area from incompatible uses is not just a planning issue, it's an economic one. Finally, I want to speak briefly about the process. The township's request for proposal for this parcel of land back in the fall of 2025 contemplated agricultural and low-impact rural uses that align perfectly with the A1 zoning. It did not contemplate rental housing, public access facilities, or commercial rental plots. Maintaining consistency with RFPs helps ensure fairness and transparency for everyone involved. Also, we must remember the winning bid listed a tree farm as in the intended use for the lot and not the above mentioned ones. So my request is simple: uphold the zoning bylaw, protect the industrial park, and support the township's long-term economic and planning framework. The uses being proposed, rental plots and greenhouses and rental home, do not fit within an A1 zone and are not compatible with the surrounding industrial area. Protecting the industrial park means protecting the jobs, the businesses, and the economic stability of the community relies on. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Matt. Just before I open it up, if there's any questions or questions or comments from council, Alyssa, and we've also got Dan on joining us virtually. I just wonder if you could go through maybe a bit of the history of that particular parcel, just to give council a little bit of context.
Yeah, so I can provide a little bit of the background. We don't know all of it, but what we do know is this industrial park was created at least before 2003. Just going back through our OP records, our OP shows that this was designated as industrial, at least for the OP presented in 2003. We don't have any records kind of past this point, so we're unsure of exactly how this industrial park came to be in terms of when it was designated. But what we do know is that when this industrial park was looked at, originally they did want the whole 100-acre parcel to be industrial. The ministry came back and said they didn't want this and pushed back on it due to the existing industrial need at the time. They didn't want to take out that much agricultural land out of production, which is why they limited it to that kind of natural severance line where the drain was. That was the reasoning for it. So at this time, that piece north of the drain has existed for however long as we know it. It has been designated agricultural and also zoned agricultural lands. So that's just a little bit about the history on those two pieces.
And I think just so that we're clear, the village of Lucan bought the farm, I think, in 1988 or something like that, if I remember correctly, over having discussions over time with Ron. And so probably it was at that time either in the late 80s, early 90s, that the zoning was done prior to amalgamation. And that's why we don't have necessarily those records of the zoning at hand here today. But that's, from what I understand, it would have been 1988, early 90s that zoning would have changed. Okay, questions or any comments from council that you might have at this time?
Yeah, Matt, I guess one of the issues I have right now is just with there nothing before us from the applicant, because I think you, as you stated, those uses that he's advertised, he or she's advertised. I certainly can't, speak to that, because it's nothing's before us. You're certainly being proactive, bringing it forward to us, obviously, and certainly our staff, when they bring something forward, will need to be to ensure that the zoning is upheld with the intended uses that it's meant for. I was curious myself that was not part, like when that, again, we weren't using that property, that it was not part of the industrial land until I heard the explanation, which again, we can all say doesn't make sense. It was 25, 30 years ago. It was provincial did not allow us to. They left that agricultural, the rest industrial. There is some things beyond that council of days control, obviously. But for now, I mean, this is, I think, good information for our staff and for council and for the property owner. Now, just have you talked much to the property owner if he's considering not his intended uses, or is it up in the air?
No, I've had many discussions with him, and the intended use was for what he put on the website. The only thing that was, we had a bit of a conversation a couple months ago. I said it'd probably be better used if you had industrial rentals, like on Heenan Court. They're all fully rented, and it's a more lucrative proposition. However, it would have to be rezoned as industrial. And as you've said, the Middlesex doesn't want it to be that way. However, times have now changed. Heenan Court is full. There's 3 other lots. I believe they're all sold on Fallon Drive. There's a 20 parcel little land that's still left to be sold. But if you start sticking houses on the other side of that creek, nobody's going to want to build there. I'm telling you now, as someone who's there, I don't want to be there if somebody's there. These are problems. I just had a customer walk in today and told me how another business they've dealt with was in a small town. They were there first. The residents came around them, filled in. After a while, they just couldn't deal with it. They left.
Mhm.
Parish of Heinebecker had to do it in Acton. Same thing. They were there because they were on the water. There was, like a water mill. And then in the end, they had to basically spend millions of dollars trying to pacify the locals. Parish of Heinebecker and Hensel, the same. And in the end, they just ended up buying the houses out for twice what they were worth because the people just kept complaining.
No, it's certainly just pointing to see your example in there of the sandblasting. And again, as I'm certainly a believer of what's existing. The knowledge should be there of somebody deciding to develop and live there, and they've decided to live beside that close. But the example is interesting. So yeah, again, with it's hard to comment too much with nothing before us other than talking, having staff and planning and maybe.
I'm just saying when the permits come in, they need to be really looked at then, and what is going there and why. If it's not exactly per the letter of the law, I guess, then it shouldn't be permitted. We're there. And these examples, yeah, it has nothing to do with the legality of it. If people want to complain, they can complain. And I've had discussions with Ron. They will come here first. And when they say, no, those guys, Glavins are doing nothing wrong. GCR is operating normally. They get up and they start at 7. They start their motors and they start doing what they're doing. Trucks are coming in to make deliveries, but we wake them up. When they call town and the town doesn't pacify them, then they'll go to the province. They'll go everywhere. They'll go to the Ministry of Labor. They'll go to the Ministry of Environment. They'll make anonymous complaints that I then have to deal with. They do nothing other than picking up the phone for 10 seconds because they're not happy. They're not happy because I woke them up one day, or they're on vacation in their backyard and they hear us operating legally. But when it's a rental, They don't know this. They might look at it on a weekend and then they rented for, they put a year lease in and then they show up on Monday and there we are. It's just not suitable. We don't belong next, especially to a rental. It's one thing if the owner's going to live there, they know what they're getting into. A rental doesn't. Like I said, they rent it on a weekend and then they show up a month later and then there we are and they don't like it. It's just going to cause problems. It's going to cause problems for me. It's going to cause problems for other people. And I just worry. And if I, like I said, if someone wanted to, the battery plants are going in London. There's a lot of heavy industrial going in London, but small towns like this benefit because small businesses come here. It's cheaper to operate. It's cheaper for everything. It's easier to develop. So let's say, you know, somebody wanted to buy all their 20 acres there and build a huge industrial facility to support these battery plants. If they look across the Heenan Drain and they see a house and a kid jumping on a trampoline, they're going to walk away. Or they're going to call me and they're going to say, hey, which, sorry, I can't remember, the Springs Farm. He did the same thing. He asked me what it was like to develop there. And at that point, everything was great and dealing with the town and everything's fine. And it's, but if somebody else calls and this happens, I'm not going to have the same reaction. We are there. You want us there. We pay our taxes. Now something's going to go on beside that could affect all of that. And that's why I'm here. I'm just, I guess, yes, trying to be proactive. In the end, maybe this was more proactive. I just bought the land. I just didn't really feel like shelling out that much money. I didn't need any more land at the time. We just got another land. So thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Did you have a comment, Councillor Regan?
I did. Thank you, Mr. Glavin. That's good information. I'm understanding, just listening to you, I'm understanding a little bit more. So there's no, I don't know who we can ask, but there's just no application or proposal there at this time. There's nothing there. I mean, Mr. Glavin's being proactive with this, but there's nothing there now, right?
Correct. There's no planning applications in terms of zoning, OPA, minor variance, nothing's before us
Okay,
at this
there's nothing
moment.
before us at this point. So, right. Okay. That's, I just wanted to clarify that. Okay. Just to make sure. Okay. But I do understand what you're saying is that if it's zoned, it needs to be, we make the decisions based on the zoning. Yeah, I got that.
Yeah, and he just made it public as intentions, which were not the zoned purposes.
Yeah, no.
Now, mind you, the website's been changed now and these aren't on there anymore because of, yes, I've told them, I said, I don't agree with what you're doing. I said, yes, you can do whatever's within the law. They said, I don't agree with what he's doing. And now those things, which I don't believe are A1, are now gone from the website. It says, just stay tuned.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Westman?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I really appreciate you coming forward and letting us know about this because, I mean, I don't know about the website. I've never saw it, but it's good to know that that you're ahead of this. My understanding, I've been around for a little while, is that you know, without a permit in place, it's all talk. Without a request for zoning changes, it's all talk. I mean, yeah, it can turn into something heavier. If they come forward with requests for zoning changes or for permits, but I know that our building officials will not even consider a permit if it doesn't match the zoning. So it'll give us the heads up. We can get ahead of it. If anything comes in, we can start that process and you know, they're gonna have to come and beg for it, and we're gonna have to follow what our practices, what our standard practices. But I do appreciate you coming forward. It's helpful. Thank you.
Okay, I'll echo, you know, what my colleagues have said, Matt, like, thank you for coming, appreciate it. It's not easy to come and, you know, talk about a neighboring property that you have concerns on. So certainly respect you for that. Just a couple things just to remember is, you know, if something is happening on a property where the zoning permits it, then they don't have to come and ask for permission. So, you know, what you've highlighted is now keep an eye out, right? It's when the permit comes. If a building permit comes along, we just have to recognize what is the building permit for? Is it for a use that is actually permitted on the property? So just to clear that up. And then the other thing is with the A1 zoning, a residential house is allowed on the property. And it doesn't, unfortunately, it doesn't have to specify whether the owner lives there or whether it's a rental. Just like, you know, you could rent your house and your neighbor wouldn't need to know,
It doesn't say it can be a rental either.
but it's a residential home, right? Or residential unit. So
So you're saying commercially, you can't operate anything commercial, but you can operate a rental.
I would have to ask the planners for that,
Okay. So what my point is, if you're putting it for rent and it doesn't say it can be rented, then how can it be rented? Then it could be illegal.
so.
The bylaw needs to change then. If it can be a rental, put in there, it can be a rental,
Okay, I see what you're
but
saying.
it doesn't say that.
Okay.
So if he does it, that's not right. That permit should not pass because nowhere there does it say that you can have a rental property. A residence, sure, he can live there. That's a residence, but
Okay.
not a rental.
But-
That's a word, very, very important word in
Okay.
this.
Well, we can certainly look for clarification on that for sure. That's easy to have our planning department clarify that. But as I say, what you've highlighted, it makes us all aware. And certainly thank you for your time coming out tonight.
Thank you all.
Just actually before you go, actually planner Dan does want to comment in. So Dan, if you're unmuted, you can pop it on. And
Yes,
just for anybody that's here, Dan is our senior planner with the county and is our senior planner with the municipality. So Dan?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor, through you to members of council. So I just want to make sure we're clear on what permissions exist on the lands and how the bylaw interprets uses. So in terms of, I know and understand there's a nomenclature between a single family home and rental. So nowhere in any planning legislation do we differentiate single family homes for their permitted uses as either a home or a rental. That's up to the municipality to determine if they wanted to enter in something like a short-term rental bylaw, like we have seen in other communities. So I know Huron County has that. Other municipalities that have more of a short-term rental market, like an Airbnb bylaws, we've seen a lot of those. But in terms of an actual use, we don't differentiate between what is a rental and what's a primary residence. Legally, I'm not actually sure we're allowed to in the zoning bylaw, because there's likely several, if not hundreds of properties within the township that are currently renting out, which would be deemed illegal if we were to do that. So we don't differentiate between who's using it, or if it's a rental versus not a rental. We can't do that in zoning, but certainly if the township wanted to do something like that, they would have to go down the path of identifying a separate bylaw, like a short-term rental bylaw or something of that nature, which would differentiate these types of properties. So it's a residence. It can be rented, just as any residential property can be rented.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
There's a lot. I received a document from Tina today basically outlining the zoning on it. So first of all, nowhere does it say rented. I understand you're not going to say rental, but there's a lot at the very, very bottom. There's a lot of amendments to that. So basically the town put in amendments that somebody wanted to put an airplane strip on an A1. Somebody put an oversized woodworking shop on A1.
Mhm.
There's no reason that a rental
Okay.
option couldn't be put in there as well at the very, very bottom of the document and just saying this can't be used as rental due to the fact that it's beside an industrial area. I guess then, yeah, maybe that's what I'm asking for. But the conflict is there.
Mhm.
And it could be there. It could be worse. I hope it's nothing. I hope this all works out. I want to be neighborly.
Yeah, no, and appreciate all that, and that's noted. And I do understand as a small business owner and as an employer in our community, how important it is for you to be here and the benefit that Lucan Biddulph has because you're here. And I appreciate that. And I don't want that to change. And, to the deputy mayor's point, we will support you as we can should something arise. I'm with you. I hope it doesn't arise because you were here first. There's no question. And who's ever there knows and is choosing that piece of property to do something. So, you know, I like to think that our staff and our council will have your back.
Sorry, one other point of clarification. On the request for proposal, there was a grading on it for what they were going to use it for and pricing.
Mhm.
The use that was put down was tree farm.
Mhm.
What happened to that? Where are the buildings on a tree
Mhm.
farm? So if that's the case, if you accepted this document
Mhm.
and you passed it through here, basically based on a tree farm, and now there's going to be houses, there's going to be dwellings, there's going to be residences.
Well,
What's
I
the
don't,
point?
I don't think that there's going to be more than one. And as I say, we haven't seen anything come in front of us. And you also have to remember that land is protected and regulated through ABCA. So they will be limited, and their hands will be somewhat tied as to what they can put up and where they can put it up. But as I say, it'll
with the
be
town,
as the permits come in, as anything comes in, you can be
Do you need a
assured
permit
that
to
things will
plant
be
a tree?
highlighted. Well,
Do you need a permit to
there is
plant a
permit to
tree?
Well, no, but the tree farm, like,
Then there should never be a permit
Well,
ever issued
so there.
because he bought it telling you it was a tree farm. That's what it was. So now there shouldn't be a permit for any buildings because there was no buildings when you approved the sale. There's no buildings. So why put out an RFP that includes a usage clause that I think equaled 30% of the total, reasoning for making the decision? Why even put that there if you're not going to make them follow what he put on it?
Well, as I say, you've certainly highlighted that. And I can just assure you that that's what we'll do. We'll just be keeping an eye on the property and what comes in with regards to that address. Okay? All right. Thank you very much. Okay, our next delegation I'm going to call up is Paul Shipway, the CAO from the County of Middlesex. I know that the warden was to join us. Is she still here? Is she here? Is she here? I know she couldn't join us in person because she had her own council meeting, but it does look like Lisa's letting her in. So we'll let her get hooked up, but Paul, I'm welcoming you and turning it over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
There she is.
Through you, Madam Mayor. The warden also has local counsel in Adelaide Metcalfe, and I do not believe they are saved from the weather this evening as well, but the warden has found a way to get on. So I'm not sure if Sue wants to deliver some opening remarks or if I'm flying solo.
I think that end of Middlesex got hit harder, right? That's what we're hearing.
Yes, I was actually driving from Malahide to here, and the Colonel Talbot at Wonderland, like things were flying through the air, like tree parts and everything else. So anyway, I'm alive, so that's all I can say. Anyway, I'll start off and then Paul can take over. I just wanted to, I think I know everybody around your horseshoe there. I don't know that I can actually see them right now, but thank you for allowing us to attend your council meeting tonight. And we wanted to just provide a brief update on some of the key initiatives that are underway at Middlesex County and how they connect to supporting the local municipalities such as Lucan Biddulph. Oh dear, have I faded or am I still here?
No, you're still there. We can still see
Okay,
you.
good. Yeah, the internet here is sketchy on a good day, but anyway. So first off, we'll start by grounding this in our strategic plan. So everything the county is advancing aligns with basically 4 core priorities: economic development, collaboration and partnerships, sustainable infrastructure, organizational adaptability. And what our objective today is to show you some practical examples of how that strategy is being implemented, particularly where the county is supporting growth, infrastructure, and regional coordination. So I'll turn this part of the meeting over to Paul, and he can tap dance around the active piece there.
Through Madam Mayor, thank you again for having us this evening. So economic development and tourism strategy, economic development and tourism have been a real focus of the county for really the past 2.5 years. There's been constant evaluation. And what we landed on is really a new regional economic development strategy that has 6 priority areas, but it focuses on understanding and coordinating the roles of the county and the local municipalities. For economic development, really one of the most important things is water wastewater servicing allocation, which the county does not deliver that services, our local municipalities do. So we really need to be an enabler of economic development in the area. So that's what the plan focuses on. There's also been a key shift on more measurable outcomes and working collaboratively. So when we say more measurable outcomes, not just events or how much activity we do, but tangible outcomes in what does our assessment look like for commercial and industrial taxation. I think when I was here last fall, we spoke about this, is that Middlesex County really lags behind any other county in southwestern Ontario. It goes all the way back to the reassessment in 2016. So we're taking a deep dive into that to figure out how our industrial and commercial dropped off so much. Is it some sort of administrative thing, or do we need to put concerted efforts to bring more of those properties to our areas? And a few of the tools that we put in place to support this is the Community Improvement Support Plan, where we'll fund a portion of your local community improvement plan to deliver objectives. The County Loan Program, which Lucan is a recipient of, and I think is speaking possibly about a little bit more. And then the County Employment Lands Readiness Program is a new program that was put in place. Adelaide Metcalfe has made application to that locally to try to advance more serviced industrial lands in Middlesex County. So we're excited about advancing that in partnership with the local municipalities. I think the next initiative is one that I said was near and dear to my heart last year, is the Forest Management Plan, a service area that is not always highlighted. Is the county has over 1,000 hectares of forest land that contribute actively to the community. And we're updating our forest management plan. So this is a requirement. A lot of these lands were transferred from the province. And we're very fortunate to have a forester in-house that has in-depth biological knowledge. And the plan's been drafted entirely in-house. It's out for public comment right now and engagement. And we're looking forward to getting that finalized and back before council. The media picked up on this, and our county forester, Mark, has become like a little mini celebrity. So we're excited about getting that back before county council. In your opening remarks, you noted activities at the library and the great work your local staff do and the county librarians. Right now, we're doing a library master plan update. So really, the county took a really forward-looking approach a number of years ago with decentralized service delivery and partnering with local municipalities in facilities. And what this plan is going to do is look to the next 25 to 30 years to give us a roadmap of how we can partner further on facilities, look further at more comprehensive locations, and how we continue to deliver that programming and facilities into the future. So Lindsay and the team and the library board are undertaking that, and there's going to be opportunity for feedback on the plan. So we'd obviously like to hear from you on that. Next is Middlesex County Connect. And when Madam Mayor was Madam Warden, I know she was a huge proponent of it and did a couple tours on it even, I believe. But Middlesex County Connect has transferred from a fully funded community transportation program from the province fully funding it to Middlesex County was fortunate to receive $3.4 million from the Ontario Transit Implementation Fund. We're one of the few municipalities and programs that receive funding for that. So we also uploaded the Strathroy Caradoc route that was funded under community transportation. And I say Strathroy Caradoc in that they managed it. It was actually a route that goes all the way from Sarnia into London, stopping at a few of our municipalities in between. So service exceeded 14,000 riders in 2025. We have a 98.5% reliability rating, and we're continuing to look with partnership opportunities. We're going after Oxford County to try to get them to join London, Sarnia, and St. Thomas in funding this program. We're taking part in the Elgin County Intercommunity Transit Project to ensure that if they do develop one, there's synergies with the county system, and meeting with private companies to also see if there's a way that we can support workforce development through that. Next up, infrastructure investment, the 2026 capital program. So sometimes the county can be like abstract to local municipalities and communities, but the county contributes 27.2 million to capital programs. 80% of that is linear infrastructure, so our roads, bridges, and culverts that run through all the communities. This year, key projects investments, 56.5 kilometers of road rehabilitation and improvements, 4 bridge and structure projects across the county, and the rebuilding of the Bryanston Garage to help with. I had the opportunity to go out with our Deputy County Engineer, Chris Trainey, and see all of our roads employees at our various locations. And we talked about how the routes in Lucan Biddulph are some of the longest routes, and that Bryanston Garage gives us a nice dropping off point in the interim. Human Services and Housing, I believe Director Windsor was out to Lucan, Biddulph, yes. So we continue to play that supporting role in the housing and human services area. Our focus is really on enabling those outcomes. Sometimes it's not always seen on the ground, but we contribute over 7.4 million annually to the regional housing system as part of that broader effort. So the City of London is the service manager, and they deliver that service largely through London Middlesex Housing. But the county does contribute significantly to that program, and there are some units, a number of units within Middlesex County, but it's something we haven't always highlighted historically or communicated as effectively how we can advocate for our proper allocation out in the county. Next up is MLPS. We're extremely proud of Middlesex London Paramedic Service. They remain a leader in the sector, continually having the province and the various ministries come to MLPS to talk about pilot programs and service delivery. They were recognized last year at the AMO conference for the Rapid Response Unit program. And they've done some very interesting things with WSIB mitigation and finding ways to bring paramedics back into the service quicker than having to be off, so it makes the work more rewarding. And we're also working on our facilities. I know the team at Lucan has worked closely with MLPS to upgrade the quarters in the Lucan facility. 340 Waterloo is pictured here and is going through comprehensive renovations. And we will have the Trossachs Station Award on the next agenda for council consideration. So we continue to advance that, and they'll be implementing the medical priority dispatch system. So the county previously advocated to take over dispatch. The province didn't want to let us have that, but they have rolled out a more effective system that will help triage calls more effectively. So we get the right dispatch to the right call at the right time. And that should also contribute to reducing offload delays at hospitals. Next up, shared services. So the county has done this. It's tied into the decentralized model, but I think this is one of the things we're most proud of and where we continue to try to expand service. And I would just note that CAO Raymer and the team at Lucan are always the first to put up their hand and try to find solutions. Our county clerk's team was just talking about how great Tina and everyone was working on the candidate session and the compliance audit committee. So we're really appreciative of the relationship we have with our local municipalities, and especially the team here in Lucan Biddulph. And it provides real benefit across the county. Procurement services, we had a report on recently at County Council. It's mind-blowing how that shared service has blown up to the point we'll likely be looking to add another procurement officer. I think planning is tested and true, and I'd be remiss. Alyssa here this evening is a great example, just recently received her RPP. So we continue to have the team advance and be here and offer that great service to all of our communities. So we're very proud of Alyssa and the team. So congratulations. And yeah, ITS obviously stands the test of time. GIS, emergency management. We just continue to build that capacity with a focus on delivering outcomes for our shared communities. I mentioned it, but the 2026 municipal election readiness, we had that candidate information session. I think it went over quite well in the grand scheme of things in comparison maybe to attendance at some of the other sessions. And the teams continue to work together on that compliance audit committee and looking for how we can effectively handle council orientation sessions to try to reduce duplication and overall costs. So we're excited about that and excited to have the teams working together on that. And last year, I think we were just talking at at a conceptual level about the governance and administration center, but that is fully approved. Council approved a financing strategy for the $14.7 million project. It'd be funded through a combination of reserves associated with the sale of lands and also an Infrastructure Ontario debenture. And that will be paid off in under 15 years to ensure that it aligns with the quickest depreciating asset components, so that when we go to start having to replace HVAC, we're not also going to be paying for a loan associated with the facility. And that'll give us some flexibility to handle the glut of bridges and culverts we have coming up that are significant expenses. So the goal is to have the last council meeting of this term of council in the county courthouse building at 399 Rideout, and then have the first county meeting in the new governance administration center. Mr. Trainee is working hard to make that happen, so we'll see what happens between now and then. And I guess in closing, this is just the annual opportunity really for the warden to come out and see our local municipalities, but the real conversations happen on the daily through hundreds of emails and teams as we work together. But if there's any questions you have, we'd be more than happy to answer them. And we just want to again say thank you for the partnership and what we're accomplishing together for our communities.
Okay, thank you for that, Paul and Warden. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that, Warden Clark?
Well, I just wanted to thank you again for allowing us to be present tonight. And I'd like to put out to all of your council the suggestion, if you will, that if you see, we won't call them challenges, but let's call them opportunities where we can do things better from a county level, because let's face it, each municipality is paying a chunk of change into the county and we want value for money. So if there's something or any suggestions you have, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or Paul, because we are trying to do things better, more efficiently. I think Paul didn't mention this, but I think you would have seen a remarkable improvement with the legal department as well. So we're happy with the effort that they've been putting in. And he did mention procurement, and they're working 7 days a week. So everybody's stepping up, and I really appreciate that.
Yes, I think that if Ron was here, he would speak very positively about how the relationship with the legal department has improved. And that certainly that's been a great partnership and asset to the local municipalities. There's no question. Okay, questions or comments from anybody from council? Deputy Mayor and then Councillor Regan.
Yeah, just a couple of things. Hi, Paul. One thing I know that's going to be a concern of our municipality is with the county road Saintsbury would be a crosswalk with the new school going up and going to be opening in looks like in March is what I'm hearing, and the development across the road with the new housing. And certainly there's concern and talk about it now, and it's going to get a lot louder as that development across the road and kids having to cross go to that new school. So I just not sure how to get it on the radar or to for that, but I wanted to make comment on that. And also, I just wondered on the Middlesex County Connect. I am a big supporter of it. I think having consistency and hours of consistency, and you can see by the riders going up. But I'm just curious on the cost recovery, because again, you announced a sizable grant that we did get, which is great. But obviously we fund it as taxpayers, the fares fund it. Is there, if we didn't get the funding, is there a cost recovery goal that you have in mind that you would that we're not meeting? I would assume we're not meeting it with that grant, and that is there a cost recovery goal, and what would that look like, or is there an industry standard that you go by?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the questions, Deputy Mayor. Part of the things we do when we come to these delegations is we'll follow up. So I'll talk to Chris Trainee and get you a response on the Saintsbury crosswalk and the new development. On the County Connect, the way it's done right now is effectively we look at it as a 5-year program where the province is contributing 3.4 million, and then London, Sarnia and St. Thomas are contributing approximately 440,000 over that time period, and we're doing double because we're short one partner on that. So 880 for the sake of this discussion. We would say right now, we're also going to get provincial gas tax funding for transit, which is $130,000 this year. So that helps a tiny bit. And then fare recovery revenue, I believe, is in the 100 to 140,000 range. Right now, we're operating at like what I would call the benchmark provincial intercommunity transportation cost recovery. However, that's not high. It might be like 16%, right? So what we've committed to do for county council is go through this 5-year agreement that takes us to 2030, but annually report on all of that so that when we come to the end of that 2030 program, county council can make an informed decision if this continues. And I would also say in the interim, there'll be significant advocacy to the province on this. We've met as kickoff and as we go forward here to try to communicate that it's really difficult to run intercommunity transit as a municipal service because you're utilizing municipal county, you're utilizing municipal tax dollars outside of that municipality, right? We're running to Sarnia, we're running to London, but it's contributing value through educational appointments, that sort of thing. So short answer is we're gonna have to stay tuned and we'll have to see what county council does when that project comes up, but we're committed right now till 2030.
Thank you.
I would just jump in, and I think probably Sue might agree with me on this, just from the advocacy point with connect with the province. You know, I think it shows, like, and Paul mentioned this, the county received this funding for 5 years. And it was highly subscribed to, and we were successful because of the success that we had seen already in the pilot program. And I think that this government in particular is incredibly, they want to see success. So they've been very open to advocacy and the work that is being done behind the scenes. And they want to see how this community transportation model can work for small rural Ontario.
Kathy, if I can just add a couple of things to address Dave's 2 points. The first one, Paul's undertaken to go back to Chris about the Sainsbury. You may want to just keep in the back of your mind if there is going to be a school there, which you've mentioned, potential for a community safety zone to be implemented at the very least would be a suggestion of mine. And with respect to transit, I didn't realize we were at the 16%, but I'll take your word for it, Paul. When I met with the delegation with other wardens at Roma, the deputy minister that we met with said, and so like if you want sort of quantifiable numbers, he said, you know, we want to see this thing hit over 20%. So, you know, every year we're growing. And with the development that's happening in St. Thomas, I think we can expect to see ridership increase there. The Woodstock route is the one that's really picked up. A lot of that is educational transportation. So I think if we keep growing to the same percentage that we've been moving along, we should meet that target, because the way that model works, not to make it as simple as ambulance, because it certainly isn't, is that those typically don't run on 100% cost recovery. But having said that, without sharing a lot of details, because the ink's not dry and they're still working on it, the ECDEV department is having talks with the private sector, certain areas, to bring them on side to possibly have stops at specific locations and have them pay for that privilege. So I think as the region grows, the province is seeing the value to rural transit, and they know they have to move people. So for the labor force to be successful with the economic development that's happening in the region. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much for the report. So, I was going to ask a question about the Middlesex Connect as well. The 27% increase is amazing, because I remember when this all started, and now people are using it more and more. And as our communities grow, especially in smaller urban centers, we've got this public transportation now, which I just think is I think that 27% is wonderful. And you've already answered the other question I had. I did have a question about the library. One of my favorite places, the library master plan. So is there a public engagement piece to that about the needs? Because as we grow, like just everything from hours to availability to programs, because I know they do a great job next door. In our community, I know it's used a lot. I know I'm there a bit. And I'm just wondering if there's public engagement involved in that. And the other thing I was going to ask about is the funding for that as over the next few years. Because it's going to, the need for that, I think, is, people are using it. And again, we need to think about things like I said, like hours, availability, programs, those sorts of things.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I recall you had a question about libraries in the fall as well. So I believe that you do love them. Yeah, I will follow up with Lindsay. I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I'm fairly confident there'll be an engagement process, but I'll get exactly what that is for you. In regards to funding, the library board does their budget every year and then gives it to the county to consider. I think the provincial library's operating grant has been static since 98 or something like that. That hasn't been indexed. So it's largely funded on the county tax levy. But I think these are the things that we'll consider is how we can be the most effective. Having early on delivered at a lot of locations has made a real difference. I know the library agenda that's going to be posted tomorrow has the first quarter report on our expanded hours, nights and weekends at certain branches. And the outcomes are pretty impressive in regards to how many children and families have been able to access services. So I would say it's something that's very important, not just to you, but to the community as a whole. But we'll get some more information back to you on that in our response after this.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to keep asking. So yeah, thank you. Thanks.
You make your way to county council, you'll have to find a way to get on that board. Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you very much, Paul and Warden Sue, for joining us. Good luck at your council meeting
Yes, thank you.
and hope you don't get hit by the tornadoes and safe travel. So thanks very much. With that, I will ask for a mover and a seconder to receive that report or that presentation for information, please. Councillor Regan and Deputy Mayor Manders. See you, Paul. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, moving on. We've got the minutes in front of us, and they are the minutes from May 5th. Thanks for coming. The minutes from May 5th, and they have been circulated. If there isn't anything that needed to be amended, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to approve those as circulated. Councillor Westman and Councillor Regan. All in favor, and that's carried. On to the consent agenda. There are a few items there. I didn't get any notice of anything to be pulled for discussion. Anything that you wanted to talk about? Okay, then I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive those for information, please. Councillor Regan and Deputy Mayor Manders. All in favor, and that's carried. The same with correspondence. We've received, there's 4 resolutions in there. If we didn't want to speak to any, then I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive and file those items of correspondence, please. Councillor Regan and Deputy Mayor Manders. All in favor? And that's carried. On to committee reports. Blue Water.
Oh, nothing to report.
CEDC.
Nothing to report, Madam Mayor.
Lake Huron, we meet in June. Fire boards, there was a Biddulph Blanchard Fire Board meeting, or I guess a Granton Station Fire Board meeting on last week. So the minutes will be in our next agenda. Nothing from ABCA. Parks and Rec.
We meet Thursday night, Madam Mayor, and I'll have a report for council in 2 weeks.
Okay. On to staff reports. Jeff has the only staff report in front of us tonight.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And it's an information report. It was requested that I bring forward a report just to give an overview and a review of the winter season that we just got through. And so I did bring this report forward. So I know it's a little bit longer than most reports, so I'm sure that everybody's read it. And I don't really have anything in particular to point out to council. It was a good, we had a good season. It was a long season in the fact that it was a very repetitive season. Every day we were doing stuff. So there was never a one big storm or big storms that we would outline in previous years, but it was repetitive. It was a repetitive season with high winds and lake effect snow. So unless I'll just open it to council for discussion.
Okay, thank you very much for that discussion. Deputy Mayor Manders.
I just thought it was a lot of information and good information. I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, snow and complaints is instant, right? It's you know, on Canada Day or May 24 and fireworks, it can be 3 days later, 4 days later, you hear that, the neighbors were firing, doing something or whatever. But it's just snow is just, it's hard on the public works, I'm sure, and it's hard to manage. And I think we're doing a great job. I don't think we need to overreact to any changes, I guess. I think, the municipality or the ratepayers need to realize, I mean, it's easy just to say, do this, do that. You've said it before, we can do anything. We can remove snow every day. It'll cost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I do feel overall the last 2 winters have been tough winters, and I think we've managed as good as we can. So I just want to make that comment.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other comments on this? No, I just would echo what the deputy mayor said, Jeff. I thought it was an excellent report, and I would really encourage anybody that's watching tonight's meeting to take the time to read it. I think it is what you've shared is valuable in getting a sense of what you had to deal with. But to the deputy mayor's point, we don't need to knee-jerk react to something, but it's just great information to be able to build on season after season. So thanks for that. So if there's no further discussion on that, then I would ask for a mover and a seconder just to receive that for information, please. Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Westman. All in favor? That's carried. Okay. Other business, there is some other business on business arising. If there's anything that you want added to that list, I believe something will be removed from it, right? You're going to remove the winter maintenance plan or report will be removed. But if there's anything that you want added, reach out to Tina, please. Councillor comments. Once. Going twice, just so you know that the request for AMO delegations has to be in on Thursday, and Tina's going to be requesting, I think, every year for EDC. Yeah, economic development, Minister of Infrastructure, and MTO. So if there's anything that you feel that we want to try to have a conversation with, please get that into Lisa or get that into Tina by Thursday. Okay. With that, we have one bylaw in front of us. So that the motion in front of us is that bylaw 21-2026 be read at first, second, third, and final time and be adopted. A mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Westman. All in favor? That's carried. And resolved that the council meeting be adjourned at 3 minutes after 7. A mover and a seconder, Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Westman. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much.